Despite the cost, Able Company succeeded in taking the beach. Baker, supported by the remains of Able, are now about to assault the French stronghold on the island. Despite their recent victory, the US Marines might have underestimated the willpower and courage of the French soldiers. Second Company, 1st Battalion of the 11th Colonial Infantry Regiment of Saigon must now do what they can to defend the French battalion headquarters located in the stronghold. It is, however, still unclear where the 3rd and 4th French companies are located, and US command are worried about a possible French counterattack aimed at the beach. Charlie, Dog, and Easy Company are currently preparing fortifications around the US staging point in case of a French counterattack and will not be participating in the first assault. Before Baker and Able Company can attack the stronghold, a well-defended ridge must first be captured. Hey, what's up guys, Diplex here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2 and of course the Battle of Natuna. I am so excited to be back here for part 2, and that is mainly because of all the love and support that you guys showed me and the series back in episode 1. Very awesome to be back here. We are going to enjoy an even crazier battle. This is a day after the invasion. US troops have made it further inland, and 2 companies are now about to attack the French city on the island, or the only real stronghold located in the center of the island. So I am very excited to see how this battle is going to turn out. You can see the outskirts of the city back here in the distance, but first they have to conquer and defeat this ridge position, crowded with French guns of all sorts. We have riflemen, machine gunners, artillery, spotters, mortars. Some infantry are behind sandbag cover. Some infantry are in sort of dugout positions here by the ridge side. And you can see that we have a few French MG positions carved into the hillside here on this side. So that is super cool. I'm honestly so excited to get the battle started. Now, Able Company took a lot of casualties during the invasion. We all saw that. It was a truly costly invasion for the Americans. The French lost a lot less when it came to manpower. Obviously, losing out on the beach was a critical defeat for the French, seeing as the Americans could now freely land reinforcements. So, despite losing less men, they definitely took a strategic defeat. So, we have the remains of Able Company. They've done some fighting to get further inlands after the initial invasion. They've killed some French troops holding a smaller ridgeline in front of the one back here. They've also received artillery support. Right now, the fleet is mainly focusing on keeping the island blockaded. They've set up a naval blockade around the island to prevent the French from receiving more supplies and manpower using the French Navy. So they might be busy fighting a naval battle right now. So artillery support is limited, but more US equipment is being landed as we speak. Now, Able Company won't be in charge of the main assault here since they took so many losses during the invasion. Baker and Charlie Company will, however, be in charge of the assault here. And Baker Company is first. Charlie will act as reserves. Depending on the French resistance, we might see a more large-scale attack to get to the citadel or the stronghold back here. But if we take too many casualties taking the ridge, and if the French firepower is too severe back here, we don't really know what they're packing, so the US don't have all the intel they need, then we will have to call off the attack and wait till dark, where we can move up US artillery on this ridgeline and return fire, and then lay siege to the stronghold back here in the distance. So I'm hoping and planning and thinking that we might get a part 3 out of this battlefield, revealing a part that you currently cannot see that will reveal a large citadel, a large native citadel back here. So that would be really, really cool. There's a small plantation here, and overall the map is beautiful. So before we start this battle, to watch as Baker Company attacks this French platoon holding the ridge, and possibly also the remains of the company behind the ridge, I wanted to say that the map is made by Rick, the creator of Born in the Fire America mod, which is a great mod containing plenty of cool maps. He also made the previous map that we used during episode 1. So kudos and credits to Rick. Thank you so much for the 2 amazing maps. It's great to know that you were the creator, and I'm honored that you enjoy the series. So this intro was a bit longer, probably because the cinematic intro was slightly shorter, more straight to the point. Hope you guys enjoyed part 1. This is part 2. If you want to see more, let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment down in the description box below. It's time to see what Baker Company can do. Let's kick off the battle. Looks like a squad from one of the platoons, part of Able Company, have spent the night here on this smaller ridge to avoid being shot as they approach it. And now that the attack is on, they're here to provide covering fire for the main attack on the right flank. This is Baker Company, one out of the 7 platoons, part of each company. So we're looking at about 220 men, and this is the first platoon. I love the terrain here on this map. This is so beautiful. Right, so we're gonna try and focus on the French in this video, and try and have a look at the fighting from their perspective, so that we can better have a look at their uniforms and units. French mortar here on the ridgeline firing. We have a commander up here by the flag. And plenty of machine gunners. It does look like the French have lost their right flank. The artillery piece is uncrewed, and some of the nearby infantry have been killed. It looks like the US managed to nail a really good mortar round right behind the piece here, and it killed everyone around it. So that was really unfortunate for the French. I haven't seen it during any of my test rounds, but yeah, I'm gonna try, for the sake of my own enjoyment, to do as little testing as possible in the future. Of course, I have to make sure that it's a viable scenario and that it runs fine and that it works. Oh, look, we have another machine gunner below this bunker here, and we could hear it fire there a second ago. Oh, look at that! One of the artillery shells, or a mortar shell, actually hit a tree, and it detonated mid-air. That was really phenomenal. Really cool. French officer still standing, and a French machine gunner here on the right side is still opening up as well. How's it looking here on the left side? It's a little quiet right now. We have another machine gunner here. He's opening up as well. They're in really tricky situations. It's really hard for the American riflemen and Marines in general to actually hit them. But it looks like their marksmanship has succeeded and done them right this time. The ridgeline is starting to fall now, as more Marines are starting to get closer and closer. But French machine guns are still firing. The officer is going to resort to his secondary weapon, which is, I would call his primary weapon his binoculars, because that's what he uses to do most damage with, obviously allowing his nearby soldiers to be more accurate. Right now he doesn't have any artillery to spot for, so that's unfortunate, and he's going to get himself into a very close encounter now with a few Marine Corps infantrymen starting to get closer to his position. We'll take a look at the left flank later on. Oh, he got one. That is really awesome. He's still standing. And that machine gunner is still opening up now to cut down American troops. Yeah, so the first platoon I wonder if the second platoon has arrived yet. I don't think so. The first platoon has been halted in their tracks a bit, and they're still trying to capture the trenches. Okay, so the left side of this ridgeline was not as well defended, and it is actually the part where Baker Company's first platoon hit the hardest. So the mortar is down, and all the infantry behind various types of cover in the mountainside here and on the ridge itself as well are dead, it seems, and Marines are now starting to move up. They're awaiting the next wave of reinforcements. It does seem like the second platoon has arrived, and they are just minutes away now, or seconds away from capturing this ridgeline. I must say that one US platoon with minimal mortar support going up against a position this like well fortified is just stunning. Obviously, they did receive, once again, minimal mortar support, and they did have some fire support from Able Company, or the remains of Able Company, laying down some 30 cal fire and whatnot. And it did seem to help them. But the French are not all wiped out yet. I think the machine gunner is still alive. The officer is, and he's still firing, but he's going to go down to a mortar shell that landed right above him. Oh, and a few more explosions are going off now. But the big test and the greatest challenge is yet to come, and that is... Oh no, he's still active. They need to kill him. Okay, they're starting to swarm him. I wonder how they're going to deal with him. They're shooting down into the bunker from above, and I think they might have just have killed him. So the US are now going to capture the ridgeline and use it as cover. I'm going to repeat what I said previously. If they fail to get close enough to the citadel and French stronghold back here, they will probably have to try and arrange a second attack later tonight. Time is definitely ticking, and you don't have like all week, or I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say there. I'm just saying this time is at the essence here, and the US will have to do their best to capture the island as quickly as possible, depending on how the French naval presence looks during the coming days. The last thing the US battalion wants on the island right now is for the French to receive additional reinforcements. And we don't know how long the US Navy stationed in the area outside the island can actually support the invasion. So that is a different question. So the outcome of this fight now will decide episode 3. Oh, that was a big explosion. Yeah. Right now, French artillery is going to be pounding this whole ridgeline. So it would be awesome to see some US artillery be dragged up here during the night. And then for a battle in the early morning with US artillery firing from this ridgeline at the French citadel and all its defenses. So we'll take a closer look at some of the French defenses back here. We've got some really interesting dugout trenches. A few sandbank positions here as well. This is gorgeous. Sorry about that little pop-up sound. That was some sort of eye tracker update that appeared. I don't know why they have to make sounds, because it's kind of uninteresting, but sometimes they do. Hopefully it didn't ruin any immersion. Lots of French Colonial infantrymen here with what I believe is the Mass 36 rifle. And if my logic is correct, it should have been issued this year. So they're lucky to have the latest and greatest that France has to offer. I did not believe this is a Labelle because of its length. I do believe I'm correct, but that is awesome to see. We have a French machine gunner back here in a very nice position that has taken a mortar round, so it has partially collapsed on him, which is a shame, but he's still standing. I'm not sure how he survived that. French mortars can be heard firing from behind the camera, hitting US troops on the ridgeline. We'll see if they can get down. I think they must have deployed about half of the company by now. Here's another platoon rushing into the battle. This could be the 3rd or 4th platoon. Most likely the 4th. And they're definitely starting to get dug in here by the ridgeline, and they're trying to pick a long-range fight with the French, but I don't think that's going to work. See, what you need to do here is to get close, because the Americans have insufficient artillery support. And the French artillery, mortars and guns, will be doing everything they can to suppress the hill and this ridgeline. Okay, we see more platoons now moving to the right flank. They're going to set up some firing positions. And at this range, they can successfully and efficiently engage the French. But they're sitting ducks to French artillery. And that is what's going to serve the French greatly here in this case. I love artillery. It is so awesome. We have a nice artillery trench out here on the high ground to the left here of the stronghold. And it is working in full effect here. We have an officer in the front, part of he's probably a lieutenant, so he's a platoon commander of the troops stationed here on the left flank. And then we should have another platoon commander to the right. So I think we're looking at 3 platoons making a Colonial Infantry company. So it's very different to the 7 platoons part of a Marine company. There's so many more, but it's meant to be that way because of the increased manpower and firepower, just with a different sort of hierarchy and organization. So we've got 3 platoons part of this French Colonial Infantry unit. I do want to point out that once again there are also French Marines. Fusilier Marines, so I cannot wait to show them off as well. But in this scenario, the French invaded with a regular infantry, Colonial Infantry battalion. So a company only has 3 platoons in this case, so they're about half strength of a US Colonial Marine company. But once again, with artillery, more mortars, and more machine guns per squad. So they're meant for more of a static defense. They didn't expect much of a resistance from the native population, and truth be told, they didn't really receive much. So that is definitely why they're using this kind of unit, and that is why it's just working for them in this case. The Marines are packing a lighter punch, a strong punch because of their firepower and numbers, but obviously a more versatile and mobile unit. So if the US decides to land its own Colonial Infantry, we'll see more heavier artillery, perhaps even armor. I'm super excited. Okay, it does look like one platoon here, part of Bravo Company, or Baker Company, sorry, is actually now starting to make its way down the right flank. They're maneuvering around an old temple, probably destroyed by the Dutch colonial empire and rule on this island to diminish the local population's belief and religion. They probably tried installing their own churches and whatnot. Oh, that is a huge explosion! It's gonna knock down some of the remains of a ruin. That was pretty cool. Some of the troops are forced to retreat here on this side. French artillery is simply suppressing them too much. More explosions here on the left side. Oh man, that is disastrous. The US will have to get an American flag up here as soon as possible. But the priority right now is to first see where this battle takes them. Will they have enough manpower? Are there enough men, part of Baker Company, to commit to a full new charge? One more platoon is being deployed now. I haven't done any counting. This could be the last platoon. I think there's time for one more to be deployed, and that would be all 7 platoons. And it doesn't look like they're going to punch through. They've done a lot of damage, and they've partially succeeded in actually capturing this ridge, which is great. It will allow them to more successfully and efficiently lay siege to the French stronghold back here. But they haven't done much damage to the defenders back here. There's a lot of French artillery that needs to be countered with US artillery, and right now the mortars are out of range. Oh, but look at that. Speaking of the artillery, they're actually starting to take some fire now, so the Americans are getting closer. It's beautiful to see 2 French artillery guns back here, though, with a French company commander, most likely a captain there on the right side, doing some of the spotting. It's just beautiful to see. Yeah, so the US artillery is out of range right now. they need to use the cover of the night to move up guns to the ridge. Oh, man. This flag is slightly war-torn, as you can tell. Probably due to an artillery hit back here. So I think we've seen a naval bombardment occurred during the invasion to sort of soften up part of the citadel before this attack by U.S. Marines. So Baker Company it is. And right now, things are starting to quiet down. There's still a lot of Americans here by the ridge. It's actually crowded by U.S. troops. But they don't have enough punching force right now to get closer to the French defenses. And this hill is littered with dead Americans right now. This has been a really, really costly battle for both sides. But the French are still in... If this was a war of attrition, the French would win eventually. But right now, the U.S. have the upper hand in manpower, and the French can't afford to lose a single man right now. Every man counts, seeing as they're limited and cut off from reinforcements. So I do believe that was the last platoon to deploy here, part of Baker Company. And they're going to hold this ridge. Part 3, my friends, will be coming up any day now as well. Thank you guys for watching. This was super exciting. I had a really good time watching this battle. Yeah, the Americans are going to disengage and secure the ridge. We'll take a look at some of the casualties first. Now, pretty much all the red casualties you can see here on this side of the battlefield are American. And we can see that there are definitely a dozen and more French casualties part here of the stronghold. But there are even more troops in reserves further back that are waiting to fill the ranks here of these men. So look forward to a perhaps night battle or early morning battle coming up soon. The Americans are going to fortify this ridge again and set up artillery pieces. And we're going to have one hell of a showdown for the remaining part of this citadel back here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.